Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today's going to be a little bit different. We're going to do a little segment here called Low-End Reels Need Love Too. How's that? I have here a Shakespeare Alpha as an example. There's plenty of them out there in the marketplace. This is a size 70. It's intended for larger fish, catfish, Great Lakes fishing, ocean fishing, surf fishing, and so on. Retails for around $30, $35, so it's not a very expensive one. But let's call this segment Low-End Reels Need Love Too. One of the common problems that I find with these reels is people view them as disposable. They buy them, they have single use maybe, they're just going on a vacation for a week at a beach or a lake or something and they want to get something to fish for. Maybe they're inexperienced, maybe they're buying it for a child and they don't know if they're going to take to the sport or whatever and don't want to make a lot of investments. Whatever, it serves its purpose. So I'll show you how to provide basic service on this reel, just so that it lasts, and it can last a long time. These reels can generally do what you want to do. I'll also show you some of the characteristics that make this a lower end reel than some of the higher end. So I start by removing the handle. On this particular reel, there's two different ways that reels are manufactured with the gearing. Some of them have a half plate here that just comes off when you remove the side plate screws, and some you actually have to take the rotor off on. This is one that you take the rotor off on. So I remove the spool by removing the drag knob. I have to take the pressure washers off of the click mechanism gearing here, because we'll have to take the rotor off the top, and the only way you can do that is to remove the top end hardware. Now this is a click mechanism, lets you know that the drag is spooling backwards. Then we get to our nut to remove the rotor. And once we remove the rotor, then we have access to the top end of the reel. So here's part one of why is a reel less expensive than some of the higher end. This does not have an instant anti-reverse in it. It does have a bearing here, but not an instant anti-reverse. It has one that operates with an old centrifugal drive. You'll see that fork churns as I turn the pinion gear. And on the back end of the rotor, there's a series of ridges there that this will catch to stop the reel and perform the anti-reverse function. That's part one. Part two is the materials. This is what I generally call pot metal. I don't know, I guess that's what I've always called it, is pot metal. It's not a stainless steel metal, it's not a high quality steel. It's a metal that's been used in reel gearing for quite some time. To expedite the process, I'm going to use a mechanical screwdriver on here for the takeout. I don't use it for putting the screws back in, but I do in this case. And this will show you another example of low end versus high end. These screws are not threaded screws, machine threads. These are coarse threaded for plastics. And the case in this reel is a plastic case. It's got a graphite spool on it, but it's just a plastic case. Once we've got the rotor mechanism off and the screws out, we can remove the side plate. So this is a single bearing reel. There's another example of higher versus lower cost reels. The higher costs tend to have more bearings. In this case, it's got bushings below. Now again, if you're thinking, how is this going to be used? Generally speaking, it's going to be a low usage reel. It's not going to be out there fishing every day. It's probably going to be out there 1 week a year, or maybe several trips, but probably 10 times a year, maybe at max. So here's that pot metal again. The higher end reels are going to show brass, or at least stainless or something like that. That's a higher quality metal. You'll see precision cut gearing in the others. This is kind of pressed gearing, I'm going to believe, on that. So these tend to wear faster, and they don't hold up to continued usage over long periods of time. Okay, you saw me, I just grabbed some of the lube that was laying on the side there. This happens to be a new reel. Shouldn't require lubing, but I will show you for the purposes of this what needs to be done. You would use a blue grease and you would put some on the pinion gear there. You'd also make sure that the main drive gear has that. And again, if this was a higher end reel, this would be die cut gearing, be out of a higher quality metal. It wouldn't be subject to warping in that. But in this case, this is a design that's been around a long time. It works, and it works for the price. So you get good value for the dollar here. Not picking on low-end reels. I'm just telling you they have their place. Okay, so once we butter that back up, we simply put that back in. Then we put the bushing on. Now bushings don't need oil. They're just the friction. I had a little bit of lube on the core point there. If that was a bearing, you would want to oil the bearing. And then we're just going to snap that case back into place. Put those 4 case screws back in. So you saw me use a mechanical screwdriver on the way out, and I don't like to do that a lot. For the purposes of this video, I did. But on the way in, I'm going to tighten these by hand because I don't want to over tighten the side plates. This is, I believe it's a plastic side plate. I don't think it's graphite. And if it's a plastic side plate, I certainly don't want to split it by over torquing the screws on the way back down. So just going to tighten them up by hand. Tell you a little bit more about this reel and the purposes of it. So if you've got if you're going on vacation for a week, but you're not a regular fisher person, you're going to go to the Great Lakes, you're going to go fishing for catfish, you're going to go to the shore, do some surf casting, maybe even go out on a charter boat. This is going to last fine. This has got quality product. May not have the smoothness of operation, may not have the multiple ball bearings, it may not have stainless parts. If you look at a pen reel, for example, it'll have a bump guard down on the bottom here where I'm tightening the screw. That's to prevent the reel from injury if you hit the rail of a boat or a pier or something. But in this case, you don't have that. You have straight steel on the handle here, which can rust. Some of the handles on the higher end reels will be stainless steel. Okay, I'll just try that real quick, make sure it works. It does. And again, you can see the operation as you go backwards with the handle. That anti-reverse dog is working. So the one place that you do need to put oil is on that single bearing, which is up top here. I use a Real-X oil, and I oil bearings. Okay, and then we're going to put the rotor back on. That's the one that has those notches in it for your anti-reverse. And then we're going to put that nut back on. We're kind of reversing the process here. But so a lot of people view these reels as disposable. You paid $30 for it, you used it a couple of seasons, maybe you took it out a dozen times. You say, okay, it was $3 a trip, it was worth it. Then it breaks and you go get another one. And I guess that's okay. You know, if you're working it out cost per trip, it's not terrible. The cost to maintain these is probably prohibitive. So if somebody came to me and said, I want to service this, and I told them it was going to cost them $15 to service it, you know, for $30 you get a new one, right? So a lot of times that's a gauge of it as well. But if you're doing this yourself, a little bit of machine oil, a little bit of blue lubrication, and you're good for another season or 2 or 10. I'm having a little trouble, as I always do, with small pieces. You know, why not, right? And this is a great one if you own a boat, if you own a vacation house or something. It's a good reel to have around when people come to join you. Maybe they're not experienced, and you know what? If you have a boat and you have a young child on board and he's learning fishing, and the reel goes overboard, you really don't cry that much. I guess you would cry if you had your Shimano Stratic out there or something, but not there. All right, the last piece we're going to show you on lubrication is the drag stack in the spool. That's held in by a little clip, the spring clip. Make sure you do as I did there. These are Teflon. They don't require lubrication, so I just check to make sure that they're clean. Here's an eared washer. Those always belong in the middle. There's 2 of those. So these are all clean, so there's nothing done. And this top end of the reel tends to take a lot of dirt and grime. It gets seawater in it. It gets sand if it's dropped on the beach. So make sure that you do that. It didn't take you 45 seconds to go do that. So just make sure that you do that in order to get the contaminants out of it so that your drag stack works okay. Button the reel back up, and this one's ready to go. So if you're going to do it by yourself, you're going to hold that reel for a while, that's going to be a nice reel. Again, it doesn't make a lot of sense usually to send it out for service because of the price versus the price of a new reel. But again, if you got it yourself and you got 10 or 15 minutes, whatever this video took, and you have a little bit of machine oil, you're ready to go for another season, and it'll last you quite some time. It'll always do what it's planned to do. It may not have the highest quality gear sets and bearings and all the other bells and whistles that they put on the higher price reel, but it's going to serve its purpose, and it's going to land fish, and it's going to help you enjoy your time on the water. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. If you like this, please like it on the YouTube. If you want to see more of these, then please subscribe to my channel. And I appreciate you watching the video, and thank you for that. Have a good day. Thank you.